Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, your launch pad for skyrocketing success in real estate investing. I'm your host, Gabe Rodarte, alongside Mark Monroe. We're ready to bring you transformative stories, groundbreaking strategies, and the insider secrets of real estate giants. Get ready to accelerate your investment journey and become a true power player in the world of real estate.
Hello, welcome to Real Estate Power Play, another episode. I am the co-host this week, Mark Monroe, and I am excited because, as you guys know, I love creative real estate investing. And we have a gentleman, what do we call him? What's he say? Creative Mike. That's what everybody
Yeah,
knows you as, right? So,
exactly.
Mike, we've been going back and forth on social media for quite some time, about a couple of years now, and thanks for coming on to the show. And I'm going to be loving getting into creative real estate investing stuff. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on, first of all. Me and you have, like you said, we met through just social media, which the power of social media, right? So I've been a mortgage broker for a very long time. I've been in finance, so I own a company called Key City Lending, which is a mortgage company. We specialize in reverse mortgages. But at the end of December 2022, when the rates that year went up like four times, it decimated like our industry. And so unfortunately, I had to lay off a lot of people. I had to downsize, close down a couple of offices. And because with what we were doing, it wasn't working anymore because the loan amounts dropped down so low that we were just not able to qualify our customers anymore. You would have to have almost a paid off property to qualify for a reverse mortgage. And so started watching some YouTube videos, was kind of depressed, of what was going on, as we all were, right, in the industry. And had a little bit of a mental breakdown, because I was laying off people before Christmas, which is like the worst thing you can do. I have a big heart, so letting people know that, hey, you're being laid off was just something I just couldn't fathom doing. Um, and started watching some YouTube videos, and I ran across Pace Morby's videos. And I'm like, because I was always kind of interested in wholesaling and creative finance and just kind of seeing like what it's all about. And I watched one of his videos, and I started watching more videos, started taking down some notes. Finally, got off the couch and said, I'm going to take some action, and just put together some very simple systems and started making phone calls direct to agent. So that's my avatar, is I go straight direct to agent, and I make creative finance offers. And I did that in Arizona. That's where I first started off, is where he's from too. So I did that in Arizona, got someone that's a little realtor that was interested. I got her under contract, found a title company that was investor friendly, and we went ahead. And it was a very hard deal though. It was in Sun City, Arizona. It was over 55 plus community. The interest rate wasn't that attractive either. It was like almost a 6% interest rate. But luckily, through will and effort, I found a buyer. I closed on it, assigned it, and that was my first proof of concept. And then after that, I started training VAs, got VAs, started building a team, started building out systems, and started exploring more about creative finance. And I've been fortunate enough to do quite a bit of deals, very creative deals, interesting deals. And then the nice thing about creative finance is just you can be as creative as you want. And so that's a little bit about me.
Yep, I love it. And you hit the nail on the head. Creative as you want, whatever you can think of, as long as it's within the regulations, you can put it together and it just works. I mean, you just come up with ideas like, they have certain terminologies, but you end up coming up with ideas that's not even a term for it. You just kind of, oh, this will work. This will work. And kind of just merge it, put it all together. So, yeah, I love it. I've been like you. I come from the same background. I started in 1995 doing the same thing in a real estate banking world up in the Washington D.C. area, and same thing. I had 107 loan officers up there, and during one of the time periods in '97, the market pulled back, and So the first mortgage is it's kind of almost like what happened now. The rates jumped up roughly, probably around like, well, they were around 9.25 when I got into it. Then they dropped down to 7, so they bumped back up to around like 7.5, 8. So it slowed down. So then the seconds all came in, and I'm surprised it didn't happen this time around. Usually, when the markets jump up, a lot of second mortgages come about, so the mortgage industry kind of keeps it afloat. But
Yeah.
were you keeping your employees on longer than you should have? Did you fall down that rabbit hole?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell down that rabbit hole. And I also, because we were scaling so fast and I mean, we were generating, a good amount of revenue. I started getting insurance for my employees, benefits, perks, and paying for all that, when the times are
401ks,
great.
all that. Yep.
Yeah, you can do all that. And then I kept them on longer than I should. I kept systems on longer than I should have. I kept spending money on ads longer than I should have. Like Facebook, Google ads, that would just siphons money out of your account like that.
How-
So
how-
learning
yeah. How
lesson.
old are you?
I'm 37.
Wow. Yeah, I went through it early 30s. Same thing. We go through and people listening, I mean, this is part of the process. You're gonna have ups and downs throughout history when you're working in the business world. You're gonna have great years and bad years. So just make sure you prepare. Like, what do you think you would done different? Like um in that situation when the market shifts, because it does happen. I mean, I hate to get political, but the political environment dictates small business owners a lot of times, and you fell into that trap. Inflation kind of put you into it where they had to raise rates. So what would you have done different?
In regards to like
Like if you there's
before.
yeah, like knowing like the industries your business is taking a hit, what would you have done a little differently that time?
Yeah, I definitely would have focused more on just being a small business owner and not trying to scale too fast and invest way too much money. One thing that I would always advise people to do is if one thing's working really well for you, like stay in there and don't try to like branch out, especially when it comes to marketing. Like my biggest ROI in marketing was just cold calling, cold callers, right? That was my biggest ROI. But then I wanted to get fancy. So I started spending money on Google ads and Facebook ads. And as you know, that can get very expensive. And then a lot of times those leads, it takes so much, time to pick up the phone. But then what I've also would have done differently is I wouldn't have gotten insurances. I would have done all these perks because obviously all those costs go up. So I would have really tried to focus on staying afloat as much as I could have with the lowest expenses possible. So what works, what brings in the highest ROI, just put more gasoline on that fire,
Yeah.
and
You
and,
hit
and
the
just not,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like, so I'm with you now. Like, I would rather keep business small, overhead small, because you don't have to do as much work for better profit, if that makes sense. And then you're using your VAs. Do you have who handles your acquisitions now? Do you do it, or do you have a person, or do you have your VAs? How's that look?
Yeah, great question. So I'm fortunate enough to have I have one VA that she's been with me for 6 years. So she's been with me through when I started my mortgage company, which was when I was 30 years old. So I've had it for 7 years. Luckily, I was smart with my money, so I was able to go through the last 2 years of complete, like the industry being the way it is. Now it's slowly shifting, obviously, with the rates going down and everything. But I've had my VA for about 6 years. She transitioned well into the wholesale world, so I had to retrain her, and then I had her hire on people and train people. And so I have like this little hierarchy of VAs. So I have my general manager, she's also my ops manager. She's like the CEO, I guess, of the VA world, right? Then I have my sales manager, she's also a VA. And then underneath her, there's a couple of VAs that are callers. And then I also have what I call my social media VA. And she's the one that posts all my videos. She posts all my deals on different Facebook groups. She sends out all my emails. And so I have a total of about six VAs right now. And so they make the phone calls. I train them how to interact with agents, overcome objections, taught them the rebuttals, everything. And so they're the ones that when they call the agent they talk to them, and if they're interested in a creative finance offer, they're the ones that actually send out the LOI. I taught them the formulas, everything. And then once they send out the LOI, it goes into our CRM. And then I myself will call. I have my acquisitions individual call. So I do have an acquisition manager as well. So that's kind of how my system is built right now.
Nice. I love it. You did a great job. It's awesome. Just it's all about putting systems in place and it's to make it the whole thing goes. So that's great. So a lot of these people are listening right now, they're in just starting out in the creative real estate world and you're doing agent outreach. What is this, some of the things that you guys or your VAs get through? Because a lot of times these agents don't even want to hear when they hear the word creative, they like automatically a wall goes up. Tell me a little bit how you handle that.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you present it, and it's how you talk to them. You first want to call and have like a conversation, hey, about the property, right? Ask a couple questions. And also you want to let them know that you have some information about the property as well. And maybe you have the mortgage balance, things like that. And then you just don't be scared. You just pitch them. You just say, hey, I always my VAs always say, hey, my boss wanted me to know if you would be opposed. So I've learned the word opposed, right? So that's one word that we use in my company religiously is opposed. It's just one of those words that just resonates with people. It doesn't like take people off or it
It
doesn't
takes
do
the
it.
wall down, it
Yeah,
opens it up. So it's like, oh,
right.
so then the wall comes down. I think that's genius.
Right. So you're gonna have those conversations, and then you're gonna say, I mean, I could just kind of just say it out there and say, hey, you know what, my boss, we wanted me to know because we ran some numbers on this property, and it looks like if you guys sold it at this listing price, it looks like your seller might be having to come in with some money to closing, or maybe just getting a little bit at closing after paying your commissions. Am I correct on that? And then we just be quiet and a lot of them will actually let us know, right? Like, yeah, they're not getting that much, or yeah, they actually have to come in with money to closing. And so then we would just say, well, you know what? I don't, we wanted to know if, we can give your seller X amount of money, and we want to make sure that, you're paid as well. We'll give your seller this much money to pay you. We'll cover all the closing costs. Would your seller be opposed to us taking over the existing mortgage payments? And that's where the conversation starts. And that's where the objections come in. And that's where you have to train your team really well to rebuttal those objections.
That's awesome. No, I like that. That's really good. So it sounds like to me they're looking for are you providing the list or are they looking and finding the properties themselves
Yeah.
when they're doing agent outreach?
Yeah, so I'm providing the list. They have their own system that they log into. Most of the leads that we have are going to be between 10 and 20% max equity, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of our deals either are low equity or they're a form of sub two and seller finance. So I also do a lot of hybrids, which is exactly that, sub two and seller finance. So believe it or not, it's kind of crazy. Like I get deals under contract where people will carry 100 grand for 7 years at like $100 a month payment, but it's just the thing is you just cannot be scared to present it, because you don't know that person's situation. And one thing that I've learned is like, don't ever put your mind into somebody else's mind. Don't ever do that, and don't ever assume the situation because you just don't know.
All numbers and offers. The more you put out there, you never know coming around. And that's one of the things. I mean, what I always do on my, you guys call them hybrid deals, but when the seller's carrying a second on it or carrying whatever, I love giving an amortization schedule. I don't know what kind of interest, but I've done it where they were like, I only do it for 3 years, but provide an amortization schedule. I'm like, hey, go down to line 120. That's 10 years. How much money would you collected? How much money? And they're making an extra $179,000 becoming the bank. And because of that, they end up staying it. So I love doing the amortization schedules on that. And it really, when they see it in paper. So I love how you guys are doing that. And you're just pulling, I'm assuming you're just pulling a very low, like you said, very little equity in it, 10, 20%.
Yeah. Yeah, 10-20%. If we don't get enough leads, we'll go up to 30% because now we have so much experience in pitching these offers. Like we'll even pitch somebody that has 50% equity and still offer them only like 5% down payment, because you just never know. And then they come back, oh, we want 10%, then we just rerun the numbers and see, okay, is this going to work? What's the exit strategy on this? And then we'll figure it out from there. But there's plenty of leads out there, under 10% equity. I mean, you could be a virtual, you could go virtual, you can go to any market you want. If there's not enough leads in this market, you can try this market. So I personally,
Nice.
I've wholesale, and I wholesale in Florida, Texas, Atlanta, the Carolinas, Maricopa County, Arizona.
So do you hold some yourself, or you just assign everything off?
Just starting to. We just bought a property. So I live in Chicago. I never thought I'd be doing deals in Chicago, but now I actually am. And I actually do. We just started a meetup here as well in Chicago. I live in a Chicago suburb, so it's fun you ask. Someone brought me a property just by watching my social media, and first it was going to be like a JV type thing. But then after I ran the numbers, I looked at it, was a 3 unit building and we were taking over sub two. And I was able to negotiate seller finance and no payments for 8 years. So
Wow, that's
we
awesome.
we kept it. So I ended up reaching out to some people that I know that became that are my private money partners, and we took it down. So
Nice,
we bought a 3 unit for under 10% entry fee. Yeah,
nice.
taking over a
That's
five
awesome.
percent interest rate. Yeah. So yeah, so
Yes, one
go ahead.
you definitely need to. I mean, and you got to people listening, when you guys are doing assignments, you got to get the skill down of like holding these yourself. You make so much more. One of my members, she had a deal, and she's like, oh, I'm going to assign it. She's like, I'm going to do an assignment for $15,000. And I'm like, okay, what do you think you're going to get when it's all said and done? Best case 10,000, something like that, an assignment fee. So I ran through the numbers with her, in over 5 years, instead of making $15,000, she was going to make $172,000 holding
Wow.
that over 5 years. Because when you look at, and the key to it is, and this is where there a lot of people get worried, is use your end buyer's capital to get into the deal with your seller, and you can still make that the same amount of money up front. And I showed her that, like, hey, when we ran through the numbers, she was going to get $8,000 up front. It really comes down to on the negotiating on the front end, but it's a little challenging when you have to pay a realtor too to make sure there's enough capital there as well.
Correct, correct. And then were you referring to your student wrapping the deal to an end buyer?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And yeah, that's exactly. So this one, it needed about $30,000 worth of work. And she's like, oh, I don't have the money. And I'm like, sell it as a handyman special. And I'm sure you've come across those before.
Hmm.
Sell it as a handyman special. So instead of looking for $50,000 down, I'll take $15,000 as long as you do the work and as is. And she negotiated. All she had to do is give the seller $7,500 down. So she's making money in the front end. She's going to cash flow about $675 a month, and then make the premium on the back end. So she was going to, in total, over 5 years, she was going to make 172,000. So think about it. If you just do 5 deals a year like that, only 5 deals a year, and you're making an average on the back end anywhere between, say, 80,000 to $150,000 when they pay that off in 5 years, that's five to $700,000 a year that you'll be getting coming in on the back end when you start building that into your pipeline.
Yeah. Did she already have the end buyer prior to closing, or did she find it after closing?
No, we got it after closing. The key to it is you got to try to do a long due diligence contract with them so you can control it. That's the key to it on that one. Like,
Ah,
always, like, you
gotcha.
know what I mean? Like, hey, no rush. We'll go ahead and close on it. And it gives you time to go out and try to find your end buyer. And then you use your end buyer's capital.
Nice, nice. What are your tips on finding end buyers?
Um, I would say Facebook Marketplace is a really
Okay.
good one.
Okay.
um, Creating a Facebook page for your buyers, and they're typically homestead buyers. So you got to make sure that you follow the proper regulations on the homestead buyers. Like, if you're going to be putting them in there, if you're doing a seller financing, you got to go through an RMLO, but you can easily find them. Like Madison Management, they're in like 36 states. So it's probably an extra, $1,200 to $2,000, but I don't mind paying that if I'm going to make an extra over 100,000. You know what I mean? on
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
so that's typically how I always done it. I very rarely do assignments. I always want to stay in a deal because you can still make the same amount of money as you would on an assignment if you negotiate. Like you got that sweet deal, no payments. It's all about negotiating. That's
Yeah.
really what it is.
Yeah.
But you'll love it once you kind of, but I mean, you got the business model down, keep doing assignments and then just start doing and holding a few of them. And then it works great. That's, I don't know. That's the way how I learned. We never really did assignments on sub to and seller financing deals back in the day. But I mean, you can definitely do them and make really good money. You got it doing volume and you got the system down.
I love it. I just, honestly, I think it's also like the fear factor, right? You have the fear factor, just like everybody has the first fear of picking up the phone and actually talking to an agent or talking to a seller, right? Now, like my fear factor is like, oh, I have never done a wrap before, right? I've never done to an end buyer. So it's like, okay, I have to overcome that fear factor now on my end is wrapping it to somebody else and then still being a part of the deal, collecting the delta, in between and then and obviously cashing out when they sell or refinance the property. But I think what you're saying, I think it's a great idea. I think people should do more of that. I'm just wondering how to convey it to the audience or to students or just anybody watching this, like how not to be fearful. Because like for me, right, and just being honest here is like, okay, I got this deal. I got it at a 10% entry fee. It's in a metropolitan market. There's a lot, 100,000 population or whatnot. Great area to wrap, right? So now, okay, now what am I doing? I'm going to Facebook Marketplace, marketing this as seller financing deal with 20% down, this kind of interest rate. I think that's where people kind of tend to overanalyze and have analysis paralysis, as I like to call it, right? So I think that's where my analysis paralysis lies now is wrapping. And I'll be upfront and upfront about it because that's the truth, right? Everything else I've done, great, easy, like it comes easy to me now. But now it's just that extra little step that I have to overcome.
And once you get it, you'll have it down easy. I mean, you're in the mortgage world. How many times do people that go to try to buy a home, they have good income, they have a down payment, but they can't qualify? There's your
Yeah,
buyer. You
there's your
know,
buyer.
yeah, one of my other people, she was trying to find an end buyer. Another one, she was trying to find an end buyer, but they didn't want that property, but they had $100,000 to put down. So she went out and found another whole property, negotiated with a realtor, gave the seller their 45,000. After closing, she put $51,000 in her pocket on that
Wow.
one. Yeah, because
It's,
yeah.
I was going to ask, so did she increase the purchase price from what she bought it for? Is
No,
that
that one she ended up doing an assignment because when she ran her numbers, because she was going to cash flow $600, and I don't
hmm
remember the term. I think it was going to be like a 3-year term. But when you ran the numbers side by side, staying in the middle, she's still going to come out the same. So she said, "Okay, I can bring your payment down $600 because that's what the seller's payment was that she negotiated instead of keeping that spread. And but if you, I can bring the payments down $600, but then instead of putting um 100,000, like she was going to have them put $80,000, but you can put the $100,000 down and you can just I'll bring your payments down $600. So she could have stayed in the middle, but she ended up getting it all up front. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's being creative, right? It's just figuring things out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's going to happen when you start marketing for buyers, for your properties, you're going to start having buyers that have large capital that they may not put down. So she reverse engineered it.
Got it. Got it. Got it. I think my next property, if it's gonna be in a good area to wrap, I think I'm just gonna just go for it and wrap it.
Yeah. You just want to negotiate the lowest down payment as possible. And always make sure what I found is make sure they're nice homes in nice areas. And I love putting families in there with small children because they want to stay in that neighborhood. They don't want to move. Those are the ones that I've always had great success with.
Do you so this is for people that don't know what this means, like a balloon, right? But a balloon is essentially like the end date of when somebody wants you to cash them out, just for your audience, because sometimes we talk about because we know like our terminology, but people don't watching this, right? So on your wraps, if you're wrapping to someone, do you put a balloon on their wrap or do you have no balloon on there?
Um, Technically, you gotta be careful because there's certain rules and regulations that you can't put a balloon on it. But what they tend to do, and you can talk to like Madison and stuff, they can have it like fixed for a little bit and then it can adjust at a certain, it all depends. You have to kind of understand the regulations of it when you're putting a homestead buyer in there, because there is consumer protection regulation. So talk to the RMLO that's underwriting the buyer to make sure, because the key to it is you have to make sure they can afford it. That is the number one thing. Credit. So that's why there's a lot of consumer protection regulations. You have the SAFE Act, you have the RESPA Act, you have the Dodd-Frank, and then a lot of the states have some of their own regulations as well. So that's why you want to send them through an RMLO and find out what, depending on the state, what the regulations is, because sometimes you may have an issue with putting a balloon on for a homestead buyer. Now, and for investors, then all those regulations are exempt because it's an investor, and that's kind of what most people do. They're selling it to investors because of the regulations. But Madison Management, they're in 36 states. You call the underwriter. He's another guy you can talk to. But typically I like to try to get paid off in 5 to 7 years, because I like, think about it. If you have 5 a year, seven, and you have them in your pipeline and you have $100,000 to $150,000 coming on each one of those, that's a nice payday that year. And if you
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of them built in there on top of doing your other deals.
And so my question to you is, so are you also increasing the interest rate? Or like if somebody has a 4% rate on the actual sub-2 mortgage, are you selling it as a 7% interest rate or a 6% interest rate? Or are you
And
maybe just increasing the payment, or like
I
what are you
look at the
doing?
market rent. I
Oh,
I
okay.
have I look at the market rent and I try to keep the payments within range of that market rent. Because otherwise, if you're going to be $500 to $700 over market rent, it's going to be hard to find your end buyer for that property, based
Gotcha.
off that area.
Gotcha. So
You
then,
know,
so you don't really care about the interest. You just care about the actual cash flow itself.
correct. Yep.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because okay, so that makes sense, because I've seen people do it like that way, where they just have a higher interest rate, and obviously they're making more money that way because they're paying down the interest plus their principal. But in your case, you just want to make sure that it's affordable for the end buyer, and you're happy getting your four, five, $600 spread in between every single
Exactly.
month.
Yeah. I just did one not too long ago. I get deals from hospice nurses. So I get
Hmm.
really good deal flow. That's one of my bird dogs. So
Hmm.
this it was up in Mass, and the family owned it for 30 years, and I pitched a cash offer, seller financing offer. It's too much for them to get the property ready. They had to move in with a daughter, and the daughter lived over 3 hours away. So I gave them they went with the seller financing offer. Their rate is 4%. My payment to them is $991 a month. I got zero down, and I got 2 months of no mortgage payments because I had to get the property ready, and tacked on $79,000 of purchase price. That one, my rate to my end buyer is 7 3/4, and my payment to the seller is 991. My end buyer payment to me is $2,300 a month
Wow.
on
So
that
you're
one. Yep.
making interest and principal. So your payout at the end is going to be much more because you're making interest on it too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because the market rent is $2,500 in that area, so
Hmm.
they were perfectly fine. And he put $30,000 down.
And just curious, how were you able to get them at zero down, the actual seller itself?
I just negotiated, like, because the house, I mean, because they left everything, cable boxes, modems, um, holiday directions, that, because I said I had to go in there and just take over and get everything all cleaned up. So I needed 2 months, kind of, because they're moving in with a daughter. They didn't need the money,
Got it.
because
Got it.
you know what I mean? If they're moving in to a family, then that's a different story. I mean, if they're moving into an apartment, but usually what I'll do is they're moving into an apartment, I will pay the first month rent, to the landlord, and then I'll give them the rest once they move out. I know situations, and sometimes I'll pay the movers to come up, but I try to get it down as low as possible. Another one I did was, we had one where the seller wanted $30,000 down, and instead of $30,000, we got it down to 3,500. Be-
Wow.
yeah, because I started asking him what he needed, and he needed $25,000 for a camper. And I went through the motions and built a rapport with him. He banked with a credit union. He had good credit. I said, go ahead and take a loan out for the credit union for the camper because they have great rates. And I'll, on the 20th of every month, I'll go ahead and send a payment directly to the credit union and make the payment on your behalf. Eh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and we're cash flowing $475 a month on that deal.
Mark,
So
that
we got in
that
it.
that that is creative.
You know what I mean? But I went through
You're
the whole motion.
creative, Mark. Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's actually funny. So, can I bring up a strategy too?
Absolutely.
That could work too. So, like how you said, go get a loan, right? From the credit union, right? So if somebody has a free and clear home and they want a certain amount of money down as well, they could do a cash out refinance, pull what they need out, and then you could take over that mortgage. And then you could do exactly what you did, except, it's a mortgage itself. So that's something
100%.
yes, that's something I've learned as well, that you can do. I haven't done it yet, but it's definitely a strategy as well, because they get what they want, you get what you want, right? And everybody wins. So I
My
think that's
first my first sub two deal ever was in 97, and exactly what you said. I was in the real estate world, being a loan officer, and the homes at that time weren't moving. They were sitting for around like 6 to 8 months sitting on the market. They weren't selling at all. And it was in Maryland. These people had to move, and they said they needed money to go ahead and move. They needed money out of the house to go buy another house. And at that time, I don't know how long you've been in the game, but arms were very popular, like a 5.2 arm. So the
yes,
rates
yes,
that yeah.
yes.
So during that time period, the rates were like at 7.5. But if you did a 5-year arm on it, then you could get an interest rate at 5.5. So I said, okay, Mr. Seller, this is what I'll do. I'll refinance your home up to 80% loan to value, give you the cash, and then you can go buy the other home. And so what I did was I refinanced the home, made money off the loan. Oh, Mr. Seller, by the way, I want to do the new loan on your other home. So I made money off of that loan. And then I put a tenant buyer, lease option buyer into the property. And I got 45 days with no payments because I said, I'll make the payments when they take over. So just like what you said, exactly like that, because they think I gave them all this money, refinance out of the home. They're thinking I'm putting that money down, but it really came out of the equity of their home. So I didn't
Correct.
have to put anything down. And then I got my tenant buyer in a property as a lease option. That was my first sub two deal ever. That was back in 97,
And
just like
then
what you
all
said.
and then also let's tell everybody, by them refinancing, pulling money out of their home, it's all tax free. Versus if
Exactly.
Mark came in and put a down payment down and that property was an investment property, they would have to pay capital gains on that.
100%. Yep. And that's a great strategy. So I like it. So what is your vision? Like, where do you want to go? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
You know what? I mean, I've been just right now, building systems and just trying to just create better systems for myself. I've been also going after a lot more like cash deals. So I've been teaching myself pre-foreclosures. So I've been doing pre-foreclosures as well. Learning how to underwrite multi-family deals. So if anybody listening, I am buying multi-family deals as well. If it's creative, of course. So if you guys have any, please let me know. And I'm also just I've been it's been so great. People have been reaching out to me, and I created like this mini drive. It's not even a course; it's just something I put together that's what I do. And I've been sharing this with people that just kind of want to get in the game and just want to start, but just don't know where to turn, or just can't pay for an expensive course or whatever it is. So I've been JVing a lot, like joint venturing, if people don't know what JV is. So
Yeah.
so I got this 24-year-old kid, and I'm just so impressed with him. I showed him a couple times, and he's read my scripts and my objections, and he is just bringing me consistent deal flow. I mean, he's 24 years old. He works a full-time job. He calls after work. He has PropWire, he has like a free version of PropWire. He doesn't pay for PropWire. Uses his cell phone and text message. And we closed a month ago a Panama City Beach, Florida deal. Awesome deal. It was a 15K assignment. He made $7,500. He showed his parents. His parents freaked out. He got his proof because his parents they didn't believe all this. They thought this was like all mumbo jumbo stuff, like what are you talking about? You can't do that stuff, right? So we closed Atlanta. Now we just got another one under contract, Deltona, Florida, and another Atlanta deal. So I'm like, So yeah, I mean that's kind of been like what it was been making me like I guess maybe that's my purpose is just to teach people how to even make an extra $10,000 even for the year. I mean, for people
That's
that
great.
maybe just need it for like I don't know, like single moms or kids in college don't know what to do, or anybody that just has some free time, wants to learn a new skill. So I've been doing that a lot, just joint venturing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. It
yeah.
is. It's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling helping people that want to make money. It's a good feeling, and you haven't experienced this yet, but it's an amazing feeling when you put a homestead buyer into one of these seller financing properties, creative deals, and they
Mhm.
become home ownership. It's such a good feeling helping both of them out, the sellers out and the buyers out, and helping people. It's just, and then you as an investor, you can make a little bit of money along the way. It's just it works for everybody, and it's you hit the nail on the head. It's just nice, and you pay it forward. I can't agree with you more on that. It's just like you said, showing the family, letting them see everything, and it's just it do, and it makes you, it doesn't that feel great?
It feels really good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it feels great when somebody's like, man, like, dude, like that, like this changed my life. Like this changed my bank account. Like I've had zero in there, and all of a sudden I got $8,000 in there. Like, what do I? Then that's like, what do I do? Like, what about the taxes? What about this? What about that? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You got to talk to your accountant. I can't give you advice on that, but. I'm like, this is what happens, man. When you put in action and you put in consistent action, you get results. And I always say like for you like how you're talking about wraps, like if anybody listening, like if you guys have a deal, go to Mark. Like join a venture with Mark. Like bring him the deal. So you guys will learn how to do it. That's the first thing I say is I always say joint venture with somebody that knows that knows something that you don't know much better than you do, right? So whether it's fixing and flipping, wrapping, wholesaling, creative finance, go to somebody that knows what they're doing. Yes, you'll make less money, but 50% or 30 or 20 is better than nothing. Because these deals, Mark, let's be honest, they're not that easy, right?
It's education. You're learning it.
Yeah,
That's how
right.
I learned it. The same way. I
Right.
went out there, back then we didn't really have the internet like it is nowadays, where you guys can go out there and get joining these communities. I did the same thing. I was out there. I became the bird dog. I was that bird dog at first, doing
Yeah.
stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of snowballed in that point. And like you said, just start surrounding yourself. And you know what? And you see this too. You have to be consistent. You will fail, but don't quit. Failure is a learning experience. Just learn from it. And that's where a lot of people quit after they fail. They feel like, oh, this is too much. They're depressed or whatever. Like, you pull yourself out. And we all go through those. It's part of life. Look at, you had a business, you had all these people. I'd been there. I had a business, and I had to let people go at one time, and we all been there. And it's part of the game.
Yeah, yeah, you live and you learn, and the thing is, one thing I've learned is when things are going really, really well, you gotta like look back and say, I'm grateful for everything that's going well, but you always have to make sure that, business is first, right? Feed your business. Your business is your baby. You have to have your baby grow. So don't overspend. If you're making money, don't go out there start buying lavish cars, lavish big houses, right? Because a time will come like it came, right? We've had all these years of just fantastic. Everybody was making ton of money. COVID made millionaires, right? All these things, and then just one day the Fed just makes a different change, and a lot of people's lives change. So
You
I
have
would, I
to
would,
live. Yep. And once you go through a crisis like that and you get kicked, you're kicked down on the ground and you're at your low. Once you come back, you're going to learn to live way under your means, way
mhm.
under your means. Like if anything ever happened, for me now, because I create the wraps, and I have that passive income. If I don't do a deal for 6 months, I'm content,
You're good. You're
because of
good.
that.
Yeah, you're
Because
okay.
you have that, you got that passive income coming in, and that's where, I don't know, I travel a lot all over the place. I was just in Singapore last week.
Nice.
That's, yeah,
But
it's
that
just, I
that's
just,
actually a place where I want to visit too, is Singapore. I hear a lot of good things about it.
it's the technology's over the top. you know it's
Yeah,
cool, it's beautiful. Went to that hotel. You ever see the hotel that has a rooftop
I
affinity
have.
pool?
Yeah,
That's cool. I'm trying to
I have
remember.
that.
Oh, Marina Bay. That's what it is. Marina Bay
Yeah,
Hotel.
I
So
have
it's cool.
my brother-in-law was there, I think didn't Formula One
Yep.
racing.
I was just
Yeah.
there 2 weeks ago.
So he was there for Formula One racing and he actually stayed at that hotel.
Beautiful. We went
Yeah.
there, went up top, had a drink up there at the pool.
Yeah.
It's over the top. I mean, it really
Mhm.
is. It's no poor people, super clean. But I still love Europe. Europe is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's because it's so far modern advance. I'm a big fan of the cobble streets in history.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, have you been to Poland?
No. Have I?
Oh, you have
No,
to
no, no.
go.
Haven't been to Poland.
You'll love, I mean, if you love cobble streets, you love those
Yep.
old architectural buildings, castles, all that stuff. It's
Mm.
beautiful. So I'm Polish, by the way. So
Are you?
yeah, I'm Polish.
Which city do you recommend? What's your favorite city over there?
I mean, Krakow is beautiful. Obviously Warsaw. Warsaw is really nice. I would probably, I mean, if anybody would go, I'd probably go to Krakow for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I've been all over Europe. My favorite's Portugal and Italy, you know.
Yeah.
But those places are great. We were going to buy a place in Portugal before COVID, and I'm kicking myself in the butt. I wish I did.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know,
And yeah, because everybody from America, it's actually like a new retiree place, right? They're all
it's been
retiring in
that way
Portugal. Yeah.
for $2,200 a month of US dollars equals a lifestyle of $10,000 a month in the US. So think about it. If you're
Um,
making $5,000 a month, that's a lifestyle of $25,000 a month. I mean, it's a
Jeez.
bottle of wine at dinner is like $8 to $12. Another great place is Cape Town. Love Cape Town. The same thing. Down in I spent the last 2 summers down there, working remotely, and it was at a restaurant, a 14-ounce filet mignon is $10.
Wow.
No,
Wow.
yeah, just
So
gotta be
like,
smart at night. You got to be
mhm.
smart at night, because you got to be careful. But an Uber ride's like $3 from
Wow.
yeah, highly recommend it. They got 100 vineyards throughout the whole area, and the wine is so good. But
What's the flight time out there?
from Newark, it's about 15 and a half to 16 and a half hours.
Oh, so you first got to, oh, are you in Newark?
No, I'm in South Florida. I had to
You're in
fly
South
to
Florida.
Newark.
Oh, flight to Newark. Got it. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, I
Got
went
it.
out of Newark, out of there. The other one, Singapore was brutal. Oof. That was
Yeah,
out of,
that's a long
I had
one,
to go
right?
from South Florida to San Fran, spent the night in San Fran down to, that was 16 and a half hours.
Wow. Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. You got to fly first then, right? If you want to be
No,
comfortable.
it was brutal. Actually, I couldn't get up front. It was all, I did get lucky. I had a whole row.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. So I did get lucky
Nice.
on that. So I couldn't complain on that one. And now, in 2 days, I'm leaving to Vermont. I'm going up there checking out the foliage, the peak foliage season up there. So looking
Okay.
forward to that. So that's why we
Awesome.
love this game. We can work remotely.
We could, yeah. I mean, laptop, computer, a decent system, and you're good to go. And you don't got to get all fancy schmancy, just keep it simple. I mean, obviously, as you scale, you just keep adding more things on. But one thing you gotta be careful is there's so many systems out there, so many things. Just make sure that you're just not consistently adding new things because that bill will keep piling up. So
It will.
if
Yep, it
if it's
will.
if it's not broken, don't fix it and just keep moving forward with it.
So we're about to close it off, but Mike, what do you think give the number one advice out there for somebody that's starting out that wants to learn and they're like you're saying, like they're holding back or they're worried or skeptical or, what do you think? What do you think is the number one thing that you would give for advice for somebody?
So first of all, just to learn like of what me and you do, right? I think YouTube University is great. I personally think YouTube University is by far exceeds a lot of other things. Just to kind of understand the basis of things and understand why people do what they do. And next is go to events, go to your local meetup, start shaking hands and be intentional about it. So like I see a lot of people at these meetups, they're just kind of like, just kind of bobbling up and down, right? I always say it's like go up to somebody, introduce yourself, say, "Hey, my name's Mike. How can we make money together? What do you have? What do you need?" And you start the conversation. And you'd be surprised how many people will interact with you instead of just saying, hey, where are you from? What do you do? What's this? Like all this, like the conversation that, really doesn't lead to anywhere. Just be intentional about it and shake as many hands as you go as many meetups as you can. If you have the money, fly around. So I flew around a lot. I flew around to different events, different meetups. I DM people. I actually DM people and I flew and met them, stayed at a hotel, hung out with them, saw their business, saw what they were doing, absorbed a lot of knowledge from them. But all in the end, you could do all that. You can read books, you can do everything. But business is sales and marketing. And what we do and real estate is just the byproduct of it. So sales and marketing are number one. So you got to learn how to sell. You have to make it your number one priority to uh, be able to speak with somebody well enough to where you can convey your message to them in as layman's terms as possible. Don't use no big words. Don't try to be fancy. Don't use run-on sentences. Just keep it simple, keep it straightforward. And just practice, 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 make as many calls, make as many offers, and just be consistent every single day. If you're having a down day, it is what it is. Just keep going forward, keep going forward. And we all have those down days. I have them. I put them on my social media. I have things fall apart. It's going to happen in business, right? But if it's not happening, that means you're not growing. You're not doing enough, right? If you're not overwhelmed, as Pace Morby says, if you're not overwhelmed, you're not doing enough. So for me, for and also just connect with someone. Like connect with someone you like. Like if you like Mark, connect with Mark. Say, hey Mark, I want to join venture with you. Like, what do you need, Mark? Like, and Mark's like, this is what I need. Well, then go out there and find that for Mark, right? And then join venture with Mark. If you guys want to reach out to me, say, hey Mike, what do you need? And I'll tell you what I need. Or hey Mike, how do I find this? And I'll tell you and I'll tell you what to do. And then we can join venture together. And so I just think honestly just joint venture with someone that you like and resonate with. That's my opinion. And there's plenty of people out there.
Great advice. Yeah, it is. And that's one of the thing about this industry is like, I've had different businesses and I was on a podcast one time and somebody said, what is the one thing in real estate that was the biggest shocker that you learned? And you know what I said? Your competitor, your competitor is your business partner because we all do deals together. Like you said, so you hit the nail on the head. So Mike, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm very big on Instagram, guys. As you can see, my handle is on the bottom. So it's creative_Mike. And my cell phone's on there too. If you call me, I don't pick up the phone, leave me a voicemail. If I get a bunch of calls, I'll call you back. If you want to get my free little drive that I created, it's completely free. If you guys want to join venture, just DM me a blueprint, and I can send you guys the blueprint just off of Instagram. So I respond to all my Instagram messages. It's like the easiest way to get a hold of me, or Facebook as well. So if there's a messenger on Facebook, I'll also respond to a direct message.
Mike, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. For everybody that's been listening, if whatever platform that you're listening to us on, please like, share, comment. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you guys again. Take care.
Thank you,
Be
guys.
well.
Bye. Bye, Mark.
Cool. All right. That was good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was
that's
really
great.
good. It was good educating and stuff like that. So yeah, next time I get up to Chicago, we definitely should meet up. And if you ever come down to Florida, do you have any events that you're coming to Florida anytime soon?
Yeah, so there's a sub 2 event, but the crazy thing is, I won this thing with Pace, a day with Pace Morby, March 27th, and the event in Florida is like March 28th. So I'm trying to
Wow.
figure out like how we're all going to get there because there's like 12 of us that are going to spend a day with him from sub 2,
Where you guys
and
spending it? Whereabouts?
in Mesa with him where he lives. Yeah. So we're
Okay.
we're flying out to Arizona. Um, so I'm just trying to I'm trying to figure it out, but it's in Orlando, I think. It's a sub
Okay.
2 squad up
In
summit
March?
in
In March.
March.
Is
Yeah,
that the same one
March.
they did last? Is that the same one he did last year?
That's the
What's
one
the date?
that we're gonna meet each other on.
What
Here,
date was that one?
here, let me check. It's on squadupsummit.com. Let me
Yeah,
check really
hopefully it's
quick.
that. Hopefully it's not the same one. I have to be in Austin. I'm speaking at an event in Austin.
Let me see here. Summit.com.
So you're still doing quite a few deals, aren't you? Because I don't see you. You're not posting a lot in the seller financing group. You used to post a lot of your deals in there. Your VA stopped doing it there.
Wait, which group? No, she should have posted him. Is she missing a group? I wasn't even aware. Seller
Yeah, I
finance.
haven't seen you. Used to be in there. You haven't been in there in probably a month.
Really?
The
That means
seller
that she,
financing, the
that
seller
means that she's
financing homes group.
that means that she's not posting on there. I gotta tell her. I gotta add that on there. Maybe she stopped posting on there because I post a lot of my deals like in sub two, creative finance, subject to groups,
There's a ton
local
of
groups,
sub two. There's a some ton of investors buying subject to deals in that group.
and seller finance. What's the
Yes,
group called?
seller financing homes. You used to post in
Seller.
there all the time.
I wonder why she
Seller
stopped.
financing, yeah.
Yeah.
Seller financing homes.
Yeah, because we have a lot now. I just got like two more. Let me see here. Yeah. But I need to do that rap. I mean, I gotta figure that
Let me
out.
know. I'll help you out with it.
I have analysis. What's my entry? What's my entry fee have to be? Under 10%?
I try to get it low as possible. Like, it all depends. It depends on what your end buyer, what you feel you can get from your end buyer. The other way you can reverse engineer it, find a buyer that's got a large capital and then go out and find them a property,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
that's a good idea too. Yeah. Yeah, I actually just read some a Miami guy reached out to me. He needs to buy like $5 million worth of properties before the year ends for tax purposes.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I already found him one property and now I'm looking for more for him. Just reaching out to my contacts as well. Speaking of that, I gotta actually email some more of my contacts because he wants to buy 2 to 3 a month until December. So
Okay.
yeah. So seller financing
Homes?
groups, homes.
Yeah,
Let me see.
seller. Yeah, I'm sorry. Seller financing homes. Because you guys used
Okay.
to post like crazy in there, and I haven't seen any of your stuff in a while.
It's so weird. Thanks
Do you
for
see it?
bringing that up. Yeah. I just see, no, I don't see it.
You don't see the seller financing homes here. Let me
No.
here.
No,
It's weird.
actually, I know I don't see it actually. I don't know why.
It's not coming up. Here, let me
It might be a different name.
seller financing homes. Here. Here, let me send it a year. Bear with me here. Here you are. I'll send it to you through Facebook Messenger.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could do that.
Did that come in?
Yep. Got it here. Yeah, let me see here. Um, yeah, it's so strange. I don't know why
You
it
used to
didn't come
post
up.
a ton of it in there.
This content is not available right now. Hmm.
Really?
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah.
I wonder,
Um,
is that what happened?
yeah, it's not when this happens, the owner has shared it with a small group of people, change who can see or has been
You know
deleted.
what?
Oh,
I wonder if something happened and my one of my VAs kicked you out.
that because that's your group.
Yeah, I wonder. Hold on, let me.
So you probably kicked me out.
It was probably one of the admins or the system does it. Like what happens is if something happens after like 5 times, the system automatically kicks like certain things. Let me have them make sure you're back in there. It's so weird.
Well, there you go.
Um,
Yeah, I got kicked out.
you sure that I wonder if that's what it is. You think that's what it is?
Yeah, yeah. So just let me ask you this question really quick on these wraps.
Sure.
So, what is the percentage where you increase the interest rate on wraps versus not increasing it versus just increasing
I
the
look at the
payment?
payment, like whatever the market rent is, I usually go up about 200 to 250 above market rent.
So your
So I
cash flow is
reverse my number.
250.
No, 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 no. What the market rent is. So what the payment could be, the mortgage payment can be much lower than that.
Got it. Mark your rent, you go up 250 to $300. Okay, okay. And then
You
you
know,
figure out if you want to put an interest rate on it or not, or
oh, I definitely will put an interest rate on it.
oh, you
But
do.
the best bet is you should do a lease option, buy it subject to and do a lease option.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Put them all into a trust, a land trust, so it doesn't
Yeah.
trigger the due on sales clause.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, you put them all into a land trust. I probably wouldn't hold them in Illinois. I would do it start like in Florida, the landlord friendly states a little bit if you're doing a lease option.
Yeah. Okay.
In
So if you're
in,
doing it,
Illinois, then I would wrap it
okay.
because you know because I had a situation once where did you understand how lease options work?
Yeah, yeah, there's a certain price you give, like let's say 5 years to refinance the property. They give you an option fee, which is typically your entry fee, right? Whatever
Yeah,
entry fee is in
exactly.
this up to.
And then you have them take care of the maintenance and repairs.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Let me
And then and
send this
then
to my
and then if they don't refinance or cash you out within like the certain time frame, you get to keep the option fee, and then they have to leave the property, right?
Yeah. Yeah, typically I had one deal. I'll tell you what happened on one of my deals. It was really sweet. Hey Chris, can you make sure Mike's in the group? If not, make sure you can reinstate him. I don't know what happened. He's trying to join the group and he can't get in. Sorry. So I had one deal that was so it was in Orlando. She was 2 months behind in a mortgage and she was going to have to come to the table with $1,800 and she knew a realtor. So I asked her what she needed and she said she needed $10,000 a move. So I gave her $10,000 a move. I took over her payment. She owed $282,000 and she was 2 months behind and I gave her 10,000. So at the time it was worth she was trying to sell it for 308. And time when we finally closed, the market jumped up, the house jumped up, and it was worth 325 at that time. We waited 90 days before we closed. I gave her time, and it gave me enough time to go find my end buyer. And her payment was $2,100 a month. I went and I tacked on. I sold it to my end buyer for 379,000.
And so question to you, how do you figure that out, the purchase price? Like
I
what do
usually
you
do
get?
3% per year. It's
Oh,
average.
but you wrapped it, or was it a lease option?
Well, I did a lease option. It doesn't matter
Okay,
what it
okay.
is.
So if it's a wrap,
Whatever
you do 3%. If it's a wrap, you do 3%. But for how many
per
years though?
year.
Because if it's a wrap, they could hold it for 15 years.
It could go way up there. So then usually like I'll do it for 5 years, but let's say it's 15 years. So I can put in my agreement on a lease option on that one. Well, if it's a wrap, then it's hard, but on a lease option, I always put it's 3% appreciation per year. So like if it's a 5 year, it'll be 15% technically. You know what I mean?
Correct. And then on the wrap, it's just you just figure
On a
out
wrap, I'll probably do about 12% over the
mhm,
value.
over the value. Got it. Okay. 12% over
You don't want
value.
to be
Okay.
too greedy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you make the money up off the interest.
Got it. Got it.
Yep.
So
So in
there's
this
always an
case,
interest, or there's not always an interest. It could be just
I always have
principal.
interest. It's
You
always
always had interest.
principal and interest, principal and interest.
So you just reverse engineer what the cash flow is of what the interest rate is going to be.
Right. Figure out what their payment's going to be. And then I
Okay.
kind of go backwards and say this is because there's times where my rate was lower than my seller's rate, but my cash flow was going to cover enough. So it's weird because the seller had the loan for 12 years with a lower interest rate. And so we're resetting, but the rate, because the principal and
Yeah.
interest is down. You get it
Yes.
from being in a mortgage
Yes.
business.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah. So it
Interesting.
what Yeah, so what happened in this one deal is I sold it to my end buyer for 379. They put $25,000 down. I was into it for 16K and the market rent is 2,700, so they were paying me 2,800. My mortgage payment was 2,100, okay? And it was a 4-year deal and that summer they were supposed to purchase it. They called me up at Christmas saying, "Hey, we're moving. We're moving whatever reason. We're not gonna end up buying the property. We're worried about our option fee." And I remember I sold it for 379,000. I went and looked up the value, 465,000.
Oh, wow.
I said to him, "You know what? I have no problem giving your option fee back as long as the property is in good condition. And when I sell the property and you show the property and I get the cash from my end buyer, and I end up giving them 15,000. I'm sorry, $17,000 back because the carpet all had to be replaced.
Okay.
So, and they showed it, and I went and sold it for 200. I'm sorry, sold it for 449,000. And by that time, the mortgage balance was 255,000.
Was it to another end buyer? A wrap
No,
buyer? Retail.
no, I just sold it retail at that time
Got it. Got
because they
it.
didn't
Got it.
buy it. and it was worth 400, and my mortgage balance at that time was I paid it down because I took it over. When I took it over, it's like 282. Now the balance was 200 and like 54,000.
Wow, that's so cool.
So do you see those type of payouts that you get?
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
so if I figured out how much I made cash flow, $700 a month over the almost almost like 3.5 years, and then the value of it. So see if you can click on that link, see if you can get in now.
Is it in my messenger?
Yeah, the same link, the same property, the same group there.
Okay, one second. Um, yeah, okay, I joined group. Yeah, I kicked out.
I don't know what happened. But yeah,
Okay,
you
okay.
used to post like crazy in there all the time.
Well, yeah, because
Your team.
you guys kicked me out.
I don't know
Let's
if we
see.
did it or if the system did it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's a lot of people you got in there. Wow. It's wild.
What's it up to now?
144,000 members. Wow. It's fantastic. Congrats.
A lot
That's
of
impressive.
investors.
Impressive. Yeah.
Well, I started the group to sell my properties and it just took off.
Wow. That's awesome. I want to buy money. Okay, okay. I agree. Awesome.
You don't need to fill all that out. You can just kind of push it through.
Yeah, I just get that right now. All right, cool, awesome. Yeah, I didn't know we were even like not in here because this was like one of the main groups we were posting in. So
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that's
a lot
awesome.
of
Thanks
a
for
lot of cool. But it was a
letting
good
us
episode. But yeah, if you ever have any questions in the wraps, just let me know. But I think you should purchase it subject to, sell it on a lease option,
purchase
and hold
subject
it.
to. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
purchase it
yeah, yeah.
subject to.
Purchase subject to have enough in of the diligence period, like 60 days, 60 days, let's see, just to find the unbuyer. Post on Facebook Marketplace. That's mostly where you find you don't do ads or anything like that, or
Yeah, so I have a group, like I'm sorry, I have a page, and I'll put it in a page and I'll boost the ad like up to 25 miles in the area. Does that make sense?
okay.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
10, 10 $5, $10 a day,
hmm
and then you like
maybe if I have that, can I give you the property and pay you for the ads and or the first
I
time?
can show you how to do it. Have your
Great,
VA
sure.
do it.
Have my
Yeah,
VA do it? Okay.
and then have your VA respond, ask the questions like, "Hey, how much capital do you have to put down to move into a property that you eventually own?" So you advertise it as seller financing and lease option both together because you'll get both type of buyers come, reaching out to you. And then you might even have mortgage people that you have connected that may have buyers, and just pay them a referral fee, if they have a buyer, and then send them the business later on when they go ahead and they purchase it. I don't know if you still have connections in that
Yeah,
industry.
yeah, I mean I do. Are you using when you're with the lease option fee that you're taking, are you making that non-refundable? And also
Yes.
are you putting that lease option fee as a down payment? You're
No.
not. Oh,
It's an option to purchase the property, but at the end, I will give them that as a down payment
oh, you will.
at the
Okay,
end. But I don't put it in the contract that way because if they default, I want to be able to just get them out. Because
got it.
there's some fine language, you got to be careful of that in the lease option. Like, because if you do as a down payment, then it can technically consider it equitable interest, and if they go through the court system. So depending on the state, and like if it's a blue state, be very careful of doing a lease option. I'd rather sell it on a wrap, because then they're responsible. I had one where it's in Mass, and the people stopped paying. I could have paid them $10,000 a lead. My attorney's like, "Oh, no, go in and get them out, no problem. We'll just go in and evict them as a regular lease agreement." And some of these blue states, they automatically get legal aid assigned to them when you go ahead and evict them, like Illinois, New York, California, Mass. Um, are you familiar when you do lease options? You usually have the seller pay the maintenance repairs. You're
Yes,
familiar with all that?
yes,
Okay. And
yes,
then you
yes.
usually do a lease.
Because they're basically future owners.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So you do a purchase and sale, and then you do a lease agreement. That's
hmm
typically. So if they default, you just go into the lease agreement.
Okay.
Florida works great. So what happened was, so my attorney goes in, he goes, "All right, we want to go ahead and evict." And then the legal aid said, "Okay, they just want to evict. So let's throw out the purchase and sale contract and let's just do the lease agreement and we'll do the eviction." So the judge, everybody agreed to it. Then all of a sudden, now it's just a lease agreement. Then they go down the landlord tenant law. The landlord's responsible for all maintenance and repairs. All of a sudden, they came up with over $25,000 of receipts of repairs that they supposedly have done.
Wow. And the judge ruled in their favor?
When it was all, and they got to stay there 10 months. It was all said and done. It cost me 47K.
Oh my God. So what are you gonna do different now?
So, like I said, in the blue state, I will, if I don't get a large enough down payment, um, uh, if I do it now, I'm going to I'll pay them to leave, cash or keys, if it's that one. But I also, what I do is in all my lease agreements now, like, say I want $2,500 down or $2,500 a month. In my lease, I say, okay, the lease agreement is 2,700, but I'm giving them $200 a month credit for maintenance and repairs. So I'm getting my 2,500. So it does show some of it.
Interesting. And then the money that they're giving you about, like, let's say what they're paying you minus what you owe the sub two PITI, that is
Mhm.
not going towards their home either, right? That doesn't pay down anything. That's just the
That's why you
cash
make
flow.
so much more money. That's why you make so much. It gives them the option. And I will credit the down payment. Like at the end, when you do it, because at the end you end up doing a purchase and sales contract, and I usually will give it to them at the end.
Do they know that up front? Like when they talk to you, that you're going to give it to them at the end?
Um, I kind of say that at the end, but in agreement, I tell them this. But I'm very careful that I want to make sure nothing's I don't put anything in writing.
In writing, right? Exactly. So if they ask you to put it in writing, you're just like you're not the buyer then.
Correct. I never had that as a problem.
Okay. So basically like we're gonna give you $30,000 and you say if you purchase this property, that $30,000 will be credited towards the purchase of the home.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Gotcha.
And I've even purchased properties that way. I buy it on a lease option from a seller and it allows me to sublet it.
Okay.
I've done those.
Wow. That's so much information. So
Does
I
it make
think,
sense?
yeah. For me, a lot of it, like, oh, it does make sense. Like, it just, like my mind works kind of differently a little bit,
Hmm.
but everything you're saying makes 100% sense. It's just that I have to do a wrap to really understand it. So maybe out of all the Florida deals that I have, can we do a wrap if I'm in at 10% entry fee?
You can. It's just harder to find your end buyer, but you can.
Okay.
You always do 10% on everything.
Yeah, because I have an agent involved.
I get it.
So it's 5%. Well, actually, no, it won't be 10%. It'll be 7.5% because 2.5% is my assignment fee. So it could be
Yeah.
7.5%.
Yep. You can do that. Or I would create a Facebook page, start putting some of your properties there as well, and start looking for some homestead buyers and start getting some homestead buyers and have your VA screen some of the people so then you can start building a database of those buyers that have a nice down payment.
Hmm. Would you want to do a wrap with me, my first wrap
Yeah,
together?
yeah, hit me up. I'll be cool with that.
Yeah, let's do
So
that. So what am I essentially looking for? Like it just because I have a lot of Florida stuff coming in right now. I have an Orlando one right now.
you want one that you can get as low as down payment as possible.
Okay.
Your entry fee, and a nice home in a nice neighborhood where you think buyers will line up for it like that. A property that that your typical investor buyers go quickly, keep something like that.
And interest rate.
The lower the better. You
Okay.
want to you that is one thing. You want to whatever the rate is your payment, you want to make sure that there's nice cash flow. So let's say you at least want to have about 250 cash flow off of the the market rent, and then we can bump it an extra 200 on top of it. Does it
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to cash flow about $500 a month.
Got it. So if my PITI is 2,000, rent's got to be 2,250. I'll bump it up an extra 250. I'm making $500.
You got it.
And I got 10 of those. I'm making 5,000 passive income every single month, not including what I'll get at the end of my inflated purchase price.
Exactly. Yeah, you're getting a nice chunk on the back end, anywhere between, like I said, 80 to $150,000 on that back end spread when they pay you off.
80 to 100,000 on the back end spread.
What's that?
80 to 100,000 based
80
upon,
to like 80 to like 150. It depends on what your spread is, but just say an average 100,000.
Got it. And then I'm always, and let's say just using 12% as a basis of what the ARV is. So if the ARV is 500, I'll add 12% to that. And then that's what I'll sell the house for. And then obviously so where you're getting the 100,000 from is the principal pay down, right? On the actual mortgage itself, right? And then when they
Correct.
sell it, I get the difference
Correct.
plus all
Yeah.
the cash flow. Yeah.
If you do even if you do 5 a year, that's an extra $500,000 a year just coming off of those if you build them into your pipeline.
Damn. Okay.
You know, cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. I appreciate you. Good stuff.
All right, keep me posted. Also, if you come across any mobile home parks, I'm purchasing them.
Yes, I got you. Yeah, yeah. If I get anybody send me anything, I'll take a look at it. And you're looking for value adds, right?
Um, Possibly, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
anything. It can
Is,
make that makes sense. We have another one right now in Virginia that we're under contract on. So
nice. Oh, so
cool.
it's nationwide, right? Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nationwide.
If I get some for sure, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, like I said, I'm growing. My social media brand is growing, so people are sending me stuff all the time. So I'll definitely keep you in mind for mobile home. How about RV parks? You want RV parks too?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
All right, Mike.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks. Thanks. Bye.
Be well. Bye bye.
Bye.